Ninga go emen chiwabun de weyang noen ke wabun da meg. We nigo ninga go eji chigemen. We Garnishina kikcha piten dagos away kiwenzi ke waba meg. Mitish ye eje go toyang we ne chicken the waba meg is young.
For centuries, the Ojibwe have lived on Turtle Island in the Great Lakes area, in harmony with plants and creatures of the natural world. Ours was a culture based on living with respect for all beings, learning from and communicating with the living things around us was essential for survival. We knew that all living things had a spirit, and that we could gain knowledge and help from the spirits of this area through different ways, such as fasting and offering tobacco. Through dreams and visions, individuals received gifts from the spirits. Some were given the gift to understand the ways of animals and became great hunters. Others became singers, leaders, or teachers. Some people were given gifts to become healers or medicine men, so that they could help the Ojibwe people in their times of need. Great medicine men and women who possessed incredible spiritual powers grew up among the Ojibwe. Early European explorers and priests were amazed and threatened by some of the miraculous events they witnessed. They misunderstood Ojibwe spirituality because it was so different from their own. This misunderstanding held tragic consequences for the Ojibwe. When the Ojibwe were no longer the dominant society, white people sought to change us into non-Indians by having us dress, behave, and believe as non-Indians. Our children were sent to residential boarding schools far from their families, not allowed to speak our language or listen to the teachings of our elders. Religious ceremonies were actually outlawed. It became illegal to practice medicine in traditional Indian ways until the passage of the Indian Freedom of Religion Act in 1978. Although a darkness was cast over the Ojibwe culture, many families persisted, often in complete secrecy, to maintain their spiritual beliefs and life ways. Today, medicine men and women still speak their language and conduct sacred ceremonies. They are essential to the cultural survival of our people. In a small town in northern Minnesota, Gite Buan, also known as James or Jimmy Jackson, a Fond du Lac enrolled Ojibwe, has devoted much of his life to teaching and practicing Ojibwe culture and medicine. Born in Sawyer, Minnesota in 1913, he is a devoted father, grandfather, and great-grandfather who has become one of the most popular and respected elders in the Lake Superior area. He was raised by his grandparents on the White Earth Reservation, where he learned about traditional Ojibwe culture.
The way I was raised by my grandparents, I had to go out and fast to know what I know now. Yeah, I was out with 5, 6 boys out there, some big boys. Well, shucks, they all know something. They all got a gift from the Great Spirit. And that's the gift that I got, doctoring people, helping people out. That's the gift that I got. That's what I earned, see. I truly earned it. I did not learn it from anybody. Different ones ask me today, hey, he says, can you train me out to be a medicine man? Nah, you can't train anybody. The spirits has to do the training, not any other man. And I don't talk English when I'm ready to doctor somebody. I talk Indian, talk about my dream. I began to think about what's all this I'm dreaming about? Who are these animals that I see in my dream? So that's what I did. I went out there and then I stayed 3 days. 3 days, and After that, well, I didn't think much about my fasting as I grew up, but until I got to be around about 15, 16 years old, I began to get these dreams of these spirits talking to me. See, that was a gift that I got from the Great Spirit for being out there. I wasn't tempted on anything because I'd done just the way I was told to do, and I'd done the same thing. And as I grew up, get around my 18, 19 years old, I began to see these spirits. Sometimes they come up to me. First time they came up to me like sometimes an animal or something, or maybe a great big turtle come crawling towards me. It's not a real turtle. That's not a real animal. That's a spirit. But still they were talking my language when they were talking to me. So it went on. I got to be around 19, and then these spirits began to come like human beings. Somebody that I knew, that's how they looked like. Maybe it was one of my friends. Come there and start talking to me. Say, do you remember what we told you the first time when we came to you? I said, no. I'm kind of laughing because I knew him. Because that wasn't my real friend. That was a spirit that I was talking to. And I began to think a lot about these spirits. Well, I got an outfit that I got from the spirits, and I used that outfit to doctor these people. I myself ain't the head of this doctoring. It's the spirits that does the doctoring, not me. I'm only sort of substituting them there. But I could feel them when they come in, see. I could feel them. They're right there ahead of me. They're the ones that looks for the sickness, whatever it may be, inside of your body. But as far as cutting people open, you know, I don't do that. I do it in a spiritual way. I could see inside of anybody's body. Inside, I can see everything in there. And I can see the sickness, and I know what the sickness look like. Might be a different kinds of sickness, but I see it. I don't care where in the body, even inside of your head, your brain. I can see everything in there. But I didn't grab that outfit right away. I waited, wondered, you know, what I should do, whether I should take it or leave it. Then I started to wonder about my people. Then I began to think, well, there'll be a lot of them that I'm going to help. So I took it. Schooling didn't do me any good when I went to school. It didn't do me no good. I was in the second grade for 4 years. Then I could barely write my name. Even today I can hardly write. But I think, you know, the Great Spirit wanted me to be what I am now. And that's the way I help my people. And everywhere I go, you know, people, when they see me come, they just about take my arm off, shaking hands, you know, or see everybody patting me. And some people want to touch me, you know. I always tell them, here, I'm just another man. I'm not God himself or a spirit of some kind. I'm just another Indian, just like you guys. You know, there's a lot of these people, they think that by touching me that they'd get well from something that's bothering them, you know. But that's not it. That's not it. As far as talking about doctoring now, some of these people, you know, they come up to me and say, well, how much do you charge? How much do you charge to doctor me? And I'd look at them and I'd say, I don't charge nothing. If you want to give a gift, and tobacco, I said, just put it there. Don't ask me. I will ask him for that tobacco because that's the main thing I use when I doctor. Or even when I talk about these things, you know, that about the spirit. Well, I gotta have tobacco here on the side of me. Because when that tobacco was given to us to use, sacrifice it to the Great Spirit and the spirits, it works. If you don't use that, you ain't gonna get nowhere. That's what I done. I done everything I was told, and I got somewhere. All the people getting to know who I was and what I was doing, they all start coming. A lot of them, they start to believe in my ways.
I believe in him. He really helped me. I know he did. Because I wouldn't be walking today if I never came to him. I probably would have just been a cripple. Maybe they would have ended up cutting my feet or my legs. I keep thinking of that. In fact, I thought of that when I suffered so bad before I came to him. I might as well get my feet cut off. They're no good to me anymore. They're curling up, you know. They wouldn't straighten up. Every once in a while, all of a sudden, I'm trying to straighten, but they curl right back up again. They're called, the doctor called it hammer toes. They're like that, both feet. And still the doctor said they couldn't do nothing. I even went to a bone specialist, thinking that he could straighten out my toes, you know. No, he said, I wouldn't put you through that. Can't do it. This is just something I have to put up with the rest of my life. He couldn't help me. That's what Jim did. He did serum on my feet. In his bedroom in Deer River, my son Bob was in there with us, and he used all his little instruments to work on my feet. And he covered me up this far except for my feet. And I heard that pounding there on my feet, and he was talking in Indian. I could understand everything he was saying. He was asking the spirits to help me, to heal my feet. And he was really talking a long time. There was a lot of words. And then he did a little song, you know, and I can't repeat it. And then he, when it was over, he said, this should help you, he said, and it might not. It's up to you if you want to believe it. If you believe in it, he said, it'll help you. And that day, from then on, I believed his ceremony because he really did help me. I am walking today. I couldn't walk. My son had to hold me up to go in the house to see him. And I had a crutch on one arm. And he had to hold me up to get in there so I could have the ceremony done.
A few months ago, a friend said to me, well, you've finally gone to the doctor and done something about your knee. It's giving you so much trouble. You know, I have a bad knee that has given me trouble for a number of years. And I've gone to several different doctors about it and been given prescription medications. Nothing really took care of it, made it better. And I finally I asked Jim for healing. And this is what my friend said to me then, well, you finally gone to the doctor and done something about your knee. And I said, yes, I did go to a doctor. And Jim is the doctor that helped my knee. I believe, because it certainly has been better since his healing ceremony.
For me, you know, I was always one of these nosy kids, you know. I wanted to know everything. See, I wanted to know what they're doing, and Supposing they went out to make medicine, you know, well, sometimes I go with my grandfather and watch him, see what that is, what he's picking. And then I watch him how he fixes that medicine. But my grandma, she was strict, you know. Sometimes they talk about some kind of a sickness. And I'd stand there and listen, you know. Finally, she'd spy me sitting there, and then she'd say, "Oh, gee, get this kid out of here," said she, trying to look around for a club or something to hit me. See, well, then I'd run out. I didn't want to be in there because I wasn't wanted in there. But I always stood behind something, you know, and there I'd listen. Well, that's how come I know some of that medicine, you know, that I use now for my people, see. I always say I stole that from them because I didn't really ask them, you know, that I should know that stuff. But I knew it by watching them, by going along with my grandfather. There's lots of medicine that spirits showed me in a dream because if they didn't, somebody asked me, you know, well, this is some kind of a sickness I have, and I heard you had the medicine, but I go out there and try and look for that medicine. I wouldn't recognize the plants. If I'm gonna pick anything out there, I gotta offer tobacco and I gotta say a little prayer, you know. I gotta ask the Great Spirit, you know, to bless them roots, you know, so that the person I'm gonna give it to get well, see. And also the other spirits, you know, I ask the same thing. And the one that planted these plants, the Great Spirit, he's the head one of everything. He's the main one that I pray to for all these roots. And also thank all the other spirits that they help so that weed would grow up and where I could recognize it, what it is, see. These are the things that I do. It's always tobacco all the time. And you thank the Great Spirit for everything that you took from the ground, because those are His garden, you know. So I don't care what kind of a plant you're going to dig or break off, or what kind of leaves you're going to use. You have to put that tobacco there. You can't just take it and break it up. So that's how good that medicine that's out there, you know. Lots of times we get medicine from the drugstores, you know, you get a prescription, you know, you go down and get that medicine. Sometimes that medicine don't work on you. But you go out in the woods and get that real medicine, by gosh, you know, that'll work. I've seen it work. I made some of it that worked on people. There's different kinds of medicine, even when a person has diarrhea. We have medicine for that. You can use chokecherry roots. You can use hazelbrush roots. And you can use sumac roots. You boil that sumac root, clean it up good and boil it. If you got diarrhea, you drink that, it'll check it that quick. Your diarrhea is gone.
Jimmy comes to Minoyawin once a week, and there is a sign-up list at the front desk, so during the week people can sign up, and when Jimmy comes in, he gets the list and is able to get in contact with the clients that want to see him. don't think there's any conflict between the two types of medicine. So when someone has a physical problem, that health problem may come not just from a physical imbalance, but from a spiritual, a mental, or an emotional imbalance. And when I discuss things with a client, we try to discuss some of the forces that might be affecting the person to bring about that imbalance. And there are different things that I can do to try and help address the problem. But with some of those forces, there's not a lot that I can do. And the medicine man is able to offer a healing on a much more profound level. It's very important that traditional medicine be a part of the healthcare for the Indian community.
He first came to our Native Americans into Medicine end of the year program in 1979. That was the first year I worked for the university. And we were excited that he said that for the first time he was given permission to speak publicly. And he agreed to come and be the speaker at our banquet. And the message that he conveyed to both the American Indian medical students and the faculty that were there was that both Indian medicine and Western medicine could work together, could collaborate. They did not need to be in conflict with one another. And that meant a great deal to our students. We also had Jimmy come a number of times and present to our high school students and our Native American medical students in the summertime. He had a great deal to offer young people about culture and spirituality and confidence and the role that they need to prepare themselves for to enable the tribal future to evolve into the power that it must be in order for Indian people to really achieve their place in society. He is such a presence that it's difficult to describe the strength that one gets from being around him. And I'm sure the young people recognize that and will, in the future, be able to draw on the strength that they felt in this man that dearly loved his people, loved all people, and wanted to help them in all ways that he could. And so I believe that he contributes so much more than any educator, much more than any higher ed institution, any public school, or anybody contributed to education, was his presence and willingness to be with Indian students and Indian people and teachers and to do what he could to help.
Jimmy came here quite a bit. When I was first starting school, I was having problems with working on cadavers, and cadavers are dead people. And it is not right for us to work on dead people. And I was having really bad dreams, and Jimmy was here. And what I did was somebody told me to go see him, so I did. And he kind of doctored me, and he gave me, took away my bad dreams so that I was able to go through and finish up my program in gross anatomy and cut people if I had to and stuff. And he gave me a lot of knowledge and, different things about, Ojibwe ways that I never knew that I had. Then he named me and he gave me a feather. It was just kind of like he was the one who's helping me through medical school the most, I think. Whenever he's around, I just feel really good. And when I talk to him, I feel really good. He inspires me to do anything. I feel I can do anything, and he told me I could. And he told me I was smart. And and he said that there was a lot of things that he said that really make me feel good about myself. I think he built up a lot of my confidence in myself. And he, for many, many years, I felt I was not really traditional Indian, and he kind of helped me realize that I have it all. It's all in here, and all you have to do is just believe it. So.
One white man asked me one time, how often, Jimmy, how often do you worship your Great Spirit? Told him that was a good question to ask. I said, we worship every day. We put out tobacco in the morning and in the evening. And before we go anywhere, we worship the Great Spirit. Somebody again told me, he said, you guys worship the rocks, you worship the animals, you worship the trees. No, we don't worship them. We got respect for those things because the Great Spirit made those. That's why we put tobacco down there. Before we take any roots or anything, we put tobacco down. We're thanking the Great Spirit that medicine is going to heal us. That's what tobacco is all about, because we was told to use this, and we must keep using it. There's so many of them now are coming back in their ways. They really believe in using tobacco.
We need more of people like Jimmy Jackson, who is a catalyst between what we used to be and have in the beliefs and the ideals. And it allows us then to take that and to move it into contemporary society. And Jimmy is able to do that with us. He is a teacher more than anything and allows us to learn from him and to place things into perspective when things get too fast. He assists us not only from the traditional standpoint, but also from a psychological standpoint of allowing us to understand our own strengths as who we are as a people.
Jimmy, what about some of the teenagers never were given names and they want to have a name? How do they go about doing that?
Some of these teenagers wants a name, and well, I tell you, that teenager is big enough to go over and see a spiritual man and say, yeah, I thought about you. I'm giving you this tobacco here or a gift of some kind and give it to him. I'd like to get an Indian name. I want to be your namesake. That's what he's got to say. Whatever vision comes here, you have to give him that name. They go by, pretty soon one stops. Here, I'm the one you're looking for.
Why do we need our Indian names, Jim?
Why do we need them? Well, we need our Indian names. Someday we're going to leave this earth here. We're going to go where everybody else goes. You see, I was told, and I seen this myself, there's two roads. Goes like that. One road here, all you see is moccasin tracks. That's where the Indians go. And over here, you see nothing but shoe tracks. That's where the white man goes. Well, when you get over here, there stands this man there. First thing he does, he talk Indian to you. Ask you, says, what is your Indian name? If you ain't got no Indian name, or if you can't understand what he's saying, he's going to say, well, you don't belong here. That's why you're lost. That's the way I've dreamt about it, and then I was told about it by the old people years ago. I seen a picture. When you see somebody that left you years ago, when you see him over there, it's just like a glow of light, bright light. That's why they used to put moccasins on these dead people. They put on moccasins on them. They want them to show them the road where to go. I call that the Red Road. Oh, that's why they gotta have an Indian name. If you don't have an Indian name up there, they don't let you get by. All the Indians should have Indian names, all of them.
Well, I think he's one of the best storytellers I've ever run across. Jimmy is able to take a story in the old tradition, where storytelling was a teaching mode, and able to bring the story to people, my age, older and younger, especially the children, and to lock in on those kids, and to be able to tell a story that keeps those kids totally fascinated into the storyline, yet relates a very important lesson of life. He's gifted.
There was one little hell diver. You know what a hell diver is. He was kind of alone there. He was very, he didn't trust that Wainabuja at all. So he went in last and he stood by the door there. And Wainabuja, he started singing. He sang a song. I'll just sing it for you. You won't understand it, but Kego aye na be kegon, kaga mames kuskin shigwem, you That's a song he sang. Oh, gee, them ducks were all dancing, you know. And as he was singing, you know, the song reads this way. It reads, don't look around. Keep your eyes closed. If you open your eyes, you're going to have red eyes as the world goes on. So that's why everybody had their eyes closed and they were dancing. She was singing every now and then. He'd grab one by the neck and twist her, throw him back here. And then that one there would holler, "Rah! That's the way, little brothers, that's the way. Make a lot of war whoops like that. You sound good." And I don't know how many he killed and threw them back there. And finally, that little hell diver, he thought he'd peek and see what's going on. And he peeked. He just seen Wainabuja grabbing another one there and breaking his neck, throwing him down there. And he hollered, hey, brothers, Wainabuja is going to kill all of us. And gee, they started to run. Wainabuja, he was mad at him. I'm going to get you. He just made it to the shoreline there, and he was going to kick him, and he missed him, and he stepped on him, and he flattened out. That's why you see the hell divers now, they look flat, you know, their little legs, you know, and their eyes are red, because, see, he peeked, and that's when he stepped on him, that's why he's flat, see, but he got away,
Basically, I've had the opportunity to be part of a group where Jimmy is presenting to, or have been a facilitator that has set up a group. And Jimmy truly has a unique ability to teach to all levels, to all ages, from a pregnant mom that is going to have a baby and is seeking out counsel from that standpoint, to young Head Start kids, to elementary age, high school age kids, to young adults in our community, to older elders who are struggling with issues, and to any number of people. He really has an ability as a teacher to just really talk to the whole group, to engage them, to hold their attention, and to really leave them with some very important thoughts so that he has touched everyone in that room.
That's how the spirits work for you. You got to have these spiritual dreams before you're given anything by the spirits. If you're told to make them, you better make them. They don't tell you the second time. They tell you this the first time where you can understand everything clearly. Someone that don't believe in these things, when they're told to make anything, the next morning when they wake up, they can't think of what they were told. They say, well, I dreamt about a drum, but gee, I don't know. Somebody was talking to me and I just forgot. See, that person there didn't hardly believe what he was dreaming about. The only time you can understand his spirit, you gotta believe in it from here, from your heart, from your mind, and then everything will come out just right. I asked one guy one time, he wanted me to bless his pipe. So I asked him, how did you get that pipe? Oh, he said, I bought it. Well, what are you going to do with that pipe? Oh, smoke it. He said. Well, I said, did you dream about having a pipe? And nobody gave you that pipe, you just went to work and bought it. He said, yeah. Well, I said, I can't bless that pipe because you're not supposed to have that pipe. I said, what you can do is, I said, give it to somebody that'll accept it from you, and maybe that person needs that pipe more than you do. So there he began to understand what I was talking about. I started telling him about, you can't own that pipe just unless you're given to from the spirits. And there's a lot of uses for this pipe. I know it took me about 10 years to get this kind of pipe the way it's made. When I doctor people, I use that pipe. And the spirits that I dream about, they recognize that pipe. Everywhere I go, that pipe is showing me the way where I should go. And that pipe there, when I really want to save anybody, pray hard and use that pipe, it's going to happen. Whatever I do, it's going to happen. We also use this pipe where there's a powwow. They want you to do an invocation or do a pipe ceremony, you got your pipe right there. We even do a pipe ceremony like somebody is going to first go into the powwow, is going to first dance. Then we do a pipe ceremony for this person here. So that could be carried out so nothing happens to him there at the powwow. This is what we use the pipe for a lot of times. The pipe comes first. When I'm asked to bring my pipe, well, I always got it along. I'll tell you, that came from a long time ago, you know. When there was women, somebody started to make a jingle dress. They seen how pretty that was, so they all started making those jingle dresses. But one thing I noticed about them, you know, some of them, they want their dresses blessed before they wear them, before they go into the powwow. And a lot of these men dancers, they want their outfits blessed, you know, before they go in and dance. But I think that's the right way to do it. Because they don't like to just go in there and put their outfits on, just starting dancing, you know. A powwow like this, we have a lot of them. Some people would say that's a devil's work, but it isn't. You don't see anything bad there. Everything is good. You don't see no drunks staggering around there or anything. They're in there to have a good time. The Great Spirit watches them when they're having a good time because he was the one that gave them this year powwow so they can have a good time with it. Not only a powwow, but other things, you know, that we were given to use, so that's not bad.
I think Jimmy has been with the facility from day one since it started opening the doors. He's been one of the people, you know, that we heavily rely on as far as programming the spiritual aspect of Mishkausen. He's helped me tremendously with being able to find my roots, which I think is, you know, really difficult for a lot of Native people, you know, that they have a hard time getting established back in their Indian ways. Sometimes I think the facility wouldn't work as well if we didn't have, you know, him within the facility directing us and showing us, you know, what we can and what we can't do and keeping us on the path and keeping us sober.
Doctoring people is the most hard thing for me to do. And I have to do it right. I have to tell the people what I see and what I found out about them. I can't just go and tell them this and that, you know. Because ever since I started doing doctoring, I've been scared. Been scared all the time that I might make some kind of a mistake, and then I'll get punished for that. So that's why I have to tell things that's right.
He can't lie to you. He tells you what you have to do. I see a lot of our people may go and ask him, what do I do about this or what do I do about that? If they're not ready for a real honest answer sometime, then they really shouldn't go see him. Because when they do go see him and he tells them to do something, a lot of times they don't want to do that. Maybe it's out of fear. Maybe it's not the answer they want to hear. So then they'll go find somebody else and they'll ask somebody else. That's not the right answer either, and then they'll finally stick with somebody that tells them what they want to hear. I have the utmost respect for Dad. Like I said, I don't do anything. I don't make any decisions without asking him.
He doctored me. I used to have rheumatism in my right arm, and he doctored me, and it went away. Has never come back yet. Anytime anyone asked him to do anything, they gave him tobacco. Then he would say a prayer in Ojibwe. If he had his pipe with him, he would do a pipe ceremony. And anytime people wanted to talk to him afterwards, they could talk to him. And it didn't matter what time of day. He would see you, whatever was convenient for you.
A lot of people, they need a medicine man, a lot of them. They just got to have one. I guess it don't make a difference where I go, you know, they're going to find me wherever I go. People all wait for me there, like Michigan, Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, Wisconsin. I perform pipe ceremonies, and I do marriage ceremonies, funeral ceremonies, adoption ceremonies. I can do all of them. If I didn't dream about these things, I wouldn't do them.
I met Jimmy in the last part of 1970s when I was the Indian desk with the Department of Corrections. And the department was looking for Indian spiritual man to help out with the inmates in the prison systems in the state of Minnesota. And luckily we found Jimmy Jackson. He's changed a lot of people's lives that go through our correction systems. He talks to them and he teaches them about their spirituality. And it just fills a void that those young people in prisons just never had and don't have. He gets them involved with it, and then when they get out, they continue it. I think it's extremely important. I think if it wasn't for Jimmy, I think a lot of people would still be in prison today. In fact, I know that. I'm positive of that. When I describe Jimmy to people, all I can say is he's the person that can bring out the best in you. I mean, if you're down and you're around this man, all of a sudden you start feeling good. And it's always been like that. I spent a lot of time with Jimmy, and I have a lot of admiration and love for him.
See, I work all in these prisons here. All these young boys, you know, when I get out, I'm going to make a dancing outfit. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to have a good time, and I'm going to leave everything alone that's bad that brought me in here. A lot of them boys, they make it. And I see a lot of them boys, sometimes they're out there dancing. Some of them are singing in the drums. Those are some of the prisoners, you know, who was in the prisons. I think the Indian ways, I think, help a lot of these young people. Especially if they get some elders to talk to them, you know, and tell them what's right and what they should do. I know that's the way I've been doing it. I got some pretty good bunch of boys over there, all my group, you know, in all those prisons. There's so many of them come there. I got over 100 in St. Cloud. And then I got about 60 or 70 of them in Stillwater.
He's been coming in now into Stillwater, I think, around 10 or 11 years. And he's been very helpful to us in formulating policies in regard to the Indian religion. He's a grandfatherly figure, first of all, to the men that he calls his boys. And they look up to him. He helps them to conduct sweat lodge, drum ceremonies, talks with them individually, answers their questions about religion or answers questions about problems that they might have. And that's been very helpful over the years.
I wanted to explain a little bit about the sweat lodge. Every other week I go to these prisons, 4 prisons, and every prison has a sweat lodge. You're just in there, you wanna think hard of all these bad things that you've done way back, you know, and all the lies that you told to others, you know. That's what you're thinking about here, and you're praying the same time to wipe these off. That's what the sweat lodge is all about. You're not going in there just for the fun of it, just to sweat. You're going in there to be purified. Come out of there like a young man that's really clean. All these things that bother you here, you're not even going to think about them when you come out of there. Gave you to speak with. But when you get out of this place, if you do everything what you've been doing here, you're going to make it. But if you forget it just like that when you go out, you're not going to make it. So I want you boys to keep up the good works. Stay out of that segregation place. Don't go there. That's all I got to say.
To me, having Jimmy Jackson come here is a big honor because it's a form of change for me. Alcoholism is the main reason I'm here, and coming to the sweats helps take a lot of frustration and anger and things like that out of my life. It's a form of treatment for me because I've talked to Jimmy many times about how I should change in my ways and what I should do, and he tells me to follow the red road, follow the pipe, follow the sweat lodge, and those are my forms of change. Those are my ways. To the men here, that is their change because many programs don't work for them. Treatment programs, programs on the streets, they don't work.
Before the sweat came in, I was what you call a hostile inmate here. I was always in segregation, picking up more time. When the sweat came in, it did a lot for me. It helped mellow me out. I look forward to Jimmy coming in every week. It was a pleasure meeting him. The sweat lodge, you know, it's done a lot. It's helped me. It helped a lot of brothers here live a new kind of life.
Those boys that are in prison, you know, they give me tobacco when I leave over there. They give me tobacco or cigarettes I bring that home. Then when I do a ceremony, I open all of them, see, put them in one pipe. Then I do the ceremony. Think about those boys, you know, and their families. That's one thing they like about me, those boys. That's why they don't like to leave me go, you know. I've been trying hard to have them learn their language back. That's one thing I'd like to have them learn back. Because we don't, right now the Great Spirit he's looking for his Indians. Where are they? You don't see them. You don't see them tracks anymore, mountain tracks. And you don't hear them speak that language he gave them, see. That's why I always want them to learn how to talk Indian. Someday, you know, they're going to need that. They're going to need their names. They're going to need that language. Because there's a day coming where they're going to have to speak it. If they don't know how, well, they're just lost. That's why I've been trying to teach them to learn their language and get an Indian name. Use your tobacco, pray with it. That's why it was given to us, you know, to use it that way. That's my word for the people.
Mr. Jimmy Jackson passed away on April 19th, 1992. He will be dearly missed by his family and those he served.
I'm going to feel a real loss with Jimmy being gone because he's always told us that we were special to him because he married us by Indian ceremony, and he's always been there to watch over us. He's told us numerous times that when Butch is out of town or I'm out of town, he comes and checks on us, and we can kind of feel that, you know. I'm going to miss him.
Jim was an extremely spiritual man. He had connections that you and I don't have, and he was able to make those connections and find out what was happening to an individual and basically come up with some cure for that individual. The last time Jim was down, which was approximately 3 weeks ago, Jim had 26 people that wanted to see him in one night. And it was like, as soon as people had heard he had died, they were calling me up and they were saying, "What are you going to do?" So people really want that kind of service.
You know, this is really tough because today his work doesn't stop. Everything he taught us, everything he meant to us will go on. But today, everything pauses for him out of respect in his passing. He loved all humanity. Nobody will fill those shoes. This is a day that all of us dreaded because we knew one day he worked so hard for everybody relentlessly. Day and night, it didn't matter. Weekends, he didn't have weekends. He loved everybody, Indian and white alike. And he knew good people and knew their hearts. And Ida, his wife, just both of them were unswerving in their service to humanity, service to Indian people. Anything they wanted, anything people wanted, they'd go and they'd do it together, Ida and Jim. His teachings are going to live on. His memory, his stories, all the things that he was will live on. The cultural teachings, the love, the humanity, all the things he had for us, the seeds that he planted, we have to make them grow, all of us. And that's what he's about.
I think the legacy he leaves is a profound respect for our culture, for our people, for ourselves, and also for us to realize that there's a medicine that exists among the Chippewa in this area that's not going to die with Mr. Jackson. That's what he taught us.
Right today, I'm all ready. I have those moccasins. I have everything that I'm going to wear when I go. And I had a strong belief. There's nothing there that you ain't going to like.